The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice.
Lewis, we're up.
It is not intended to diagnose, treat,
Yes, we're up.
or prevent
Hey guys,
disease.
good to have you here.
Discuss this information.
Gotta go through our intro, then we'll be with you in a second. Good show today.
To determine what is right for you.
Somebody was telling me at the seminar this weekend, it was just like people lining up to get pictures and everything, and they love the intro.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, who put that intro together? That was like Hollywood stuff. Lewis, man. Lewis is the man.
It's kind of like, kind of just tells you like a superhero, like a health superhero.
That's right. Gotta wear a cape.
I always imagine someone sitting on a park bench about to eat a burger, and then you come in, you swoop in and replace it with an Impossible Burger.
We'll do videos.
Stop suffering needlessly.
Get some good satire on that.
Every day, patients come in our office and say, Dr. Joe, why didn't I do this sooner? And my answer is, I don't know.
Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. So glad you're with us today. Today we talk about protein. Everybody talks about protein with me. I get this question multiple times a day on you guys send me questions Facebook, Instagram. A lot of you send questions through the website drjoe.com. Where do you get your protein from? What about a high protein diet? I attended some continuing education seminars this weekend, and two of them I attended are on nutrition. I like to hear what other people have to say too. And, what about the ketogenic diet? What about the Atkins diet? I mean, it's just everywhere. This whole protein myth is just driving the country insane. And the thing is that you don't need more protein. I don't know anyone I've ever met in my entire 35 years of practice that ever needed more protein. Now, the popularity of these high-protein diets, you're tempted to believe you simply can't overeat protein. You're just going to eat as much as you want, you'll lose weight, you'll feel great, and bacon is awesome. But the truth is that consuming excess protein can actually be quite detrimental to your health, and it is very detrimental to your health. Eating more protein in your body than your body needs can interfere with your health and your fitness goals in a number of ways. In fact, there was just a documentary came out called Game Changers. And I haven't seen it yet, but what I've heard people that have seen it, and they all said the same thing. They said it was awesome because it's a bunch of professional athletes from all fields, boxing, football players, that have gone to a plant-based diet and saw an exponential increase in their productivity and performance. And so the old myth of you have to, sit down and eat a ton of bacon and a ton of hamburgers and get that protein to build a muscle, it just isn't true. So it can lead to things like weight gain, extra body fat, and a lot of stress on your kidneys, dehydration. It can actually leach important minerals out of your body, like suck them out of your body. So your body needs protein. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you don't need any protein. But protein and its array of what we call amino acids are the primary building blocks for your muscles, for your bones, and a lot of your hormones. Now, you can't live without it. But as we age, and especially during pregnancy, consuming significant amounts of high-quality protein is extremely important. But as we get older, we don't digest our food as well. So we don't need to eat more protein. See, this is where the problem comes in. I'm getting older, so I heard I need to eat more protein. You don't need to eat more protein. You need to improve your digestive system so that it digests protein like it did when you were younger. And that's easy to do, by the way. That's the cool part about this. You can do something as simple as eat raw food. Broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, salad have something in it called enzymes. And enzymes help break down your food. And there's three major enzymes in your body: protease, amylase, and lipase. Protease breaks down proteins. Amylase breaks down carbohydrates. And lipase breaks down fat. Lipid, lipase, and that breaks down fat. So those are the three main enzymes in your body. And as we get older, our enzyme levels drop. It's called aging. Now, you've heard many shows and many stories about you need vitamins, you need minerals. Take this super vitamin if you're older. If it's colored silver, that means it's good for old people. We have chewable ones. We have them for kids. We have them in shape of cartoon characters. Yeah, that's all well and good, and that's all the vitamins and minerals, but nobody talks about the enzymes. And without the enzymes, none of that stuff matters. Because the enzymes are the chemicals, they're kind of like a matchmaker. They bring everything together and make everything interact. So if you don't have enough enzymes, it doesn't matter how great your supplements are, you've got to be able to break it down. That's why in Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, we keep a lot of the nutrients raw. And we even add digestive enzymes to Essential Source so that you can break down your food more efficiently. When I formulated Essential Source, a lot of thought went into these things. Now, if you've never taken Essential Source, the Essential Source and Super Greens are 2 powders. They taste really good. They're on the website, drjoe.com. I just take a scoop of each and shake it up in some coconut milk, ramen milk, and drink it. This batch specifically is a little more bitter than others. And so you might want to mix it in with some frozen bananas or some blueberries or something like that, or add some stevia to it. But because we use natural ingredients, the flavors change every time we make a new batch. But Super Greens and Essential Source loaded with enzymes, raw food loaded with enzymes. So get on your enzymes, folks. If you get the enzyme levels up, you're going to be breaking down your proteins properly, and you really don't need more protein. You just have to utilize the protein that you have more efficiently. The average American consumes anywhere from 3 to 5 times the amount of protein that they need for optimum health, along with far too many carbohydrates and usually not enough of the quality fats. Most of us don't get enough quality fats in our diet. So there's a number of reasons why I believe it's really prudent to limit your protein intake. First is that the more protein you eat, that was my microphone squeaking there, your body doesn't require it. So if you're eating more, you're just wasting a lot of energy in your body. Your body has to break these things down. And what happens is if you have too much protein, a process occurs in your liver called gluconeogenesis. So if you're not giving your body glucose and you're eating a lot of protein, like the Atkins diet or something along those lines, the body then takes the protein and converts it into sugar. And then, of course, too much sugar can lead to things like overgrowth of bacteria, overgrowth of yeast, things called Candida albicans. And actually, that can fuel cancer cells as well. So too much protein. We're going to talk about something called the mTOR pathway, and how the mTOR pathway, an insulin-like growth factor, can actually cause the body to produce more cancer cells. And the research is showing that high-protein diets are not the best for cancer. In fact, they can actually cause more problems than they can prevent. Folks, if you have any healthcare questions, lines are open. 844-44-Dr. Joe. 844-44-DRJOE is the number here at the studio. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. So during business hours, if you want to reach us, you can call 844-44-Dr. Joe. Our website, over 1,000 hours of podcasts, supplements, a lot of good information. Even book an appointment on the website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Tell your friends about the show. I'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. So glad you're with us today. We're answering that age-old question that everybody asks me all the time, all day, every day. Protein. How much protein do I need? Where do I get my protein from? Well, the problem is if you eat too much protein, it can cause a lot of problems. When it breaks down, it creates something called nitrogen waste. Nitrogen is one of the byproducts of digestion of proteins, and that has to get into your blood, and then it's released into your kidneys, and that can cause a lot of kidney damage. It can lead to chronic dehydration, and it's also been found it can affect endurance athletes in a bad way because they cannot perform like they used to. So it's affecting athletes. Guess what? It's affecting you too, because when you put all this protein in the body, it causes the body to give up water. To flush it out of the system, to flush the nitrogen out of the body, and that causes the problems. So new studies have brought some additional insights into the protein discussion as it relates to longevity. How many people want to live longer? Raise your hands. I do. That's how you win the game, isn't it? Whoever lives longer wins. And I see that because I got a high school reunion coming up, and it's really sad. How many people in my high school are dead? Now, I grew up in New Jersey in a place called Cancer Alley. I know, very, very pleasant place to live. And just an exorbitant amount of cancer happened in my area, right where I grew up there. And it's kind of a bummer because a lot of my classmates have succumbed. My sister died of cancer. And so a lot of people have succumbed to these things. And so if you live longer, that's kind of how you win the game. But it was showing that animal studies have established that caloric restriction leads to increased longevity. What that means is the less you eat, the longer you're going to live, to a point, of course. There's a mathematical formula there. You can't just not eat anything. Eventually, you're going to pass out there. Latest science suggests that the phenomenon may actually not be a result of calories, but a restriction of protein intake, specifically reduced intake of the amino acid methionine, which is very high in meat. That's why when we do studies on protein, and we can do animal protein versus plant protein, and we can do, let's say, kidneys. And we can study kidney failure in people that eat animal protein and kidney failure to people that eat protein and from plants, exact same amount of protein, same grams of protein. And we find that the animal protein causes a lot of damage to the body. The plant protein, no damage to the body. So if you're hung up on this fact that you have to have protein, which you don't, remember, we have 3 to 5 times the amount of protein than we need in this country. So if you still believe in some bizarre piece of your brain that says, I have to eat more protein, it's okay. I'm going to let you eat the protein, but it's got to be a plant-based protein. And you have to have something raw with it so you get the enzymes. Now, I take something called Dr. Joe's Digestive Enzymes, and it's a supplement. And even today, for example, I had some lentil soup. I took the lentil soup, had some digestive enzymes. And so it helps break down the proteins, and this way my body can utilize them more efficiently. And in a little bit, we're going to talk about something, what proteins cause allergy reactions, like gluten sensitivities. And we're going to talk about how even if you have a gluten sensitivity or a reaction to a protein, even if you stop putting that protein in the body, the immune system can start attacking your own body. So it really throws the immune system out of whack when you do things like this. We're going to talk about that and what to do about that, because a lot of healthcare problems you're having right now may be related to your body not being able to break down these proteins. And something, gluten, of course, is the popular one. Dairy is another big one, of course. Wheat and dairy are the two big ones. Seafood's another one. Soy, peanuts, things like that. So we just have to be able to break it down. That's the key. So other research suggests that a balance of amino acids is the key, especially with other amino acids like glycine, which actually help lower your methionine levels. So too much methionine causes problems. There's 20 amino acids, methionine a little bit good, too much of it not good. And methionine and cysteine, if you eat a lot of that from animal proteins, raises something called your homocysteine levels. Now, when you get your blood work done, we're doing a show in 3 weeks on cholesterol. We're going to talk about homocysteine and C-reactive proteins. Homocysteine is something you want to get tested because it determines how much cholesterol is stuck to your artery walls. It's not the cholesterol. I'll give you a little tip into 3 weeks from now. It's not the cholesterol floating around in your blood that's dangerous. It's the cholesterol that's stuck to the artery walls. So if we measure your cholesterol in your blood and it's high, but the homocysteine and the C-reactive proteins are low, it's not stuck to the artery walls. Conversely, if your cholesterol is low and your C-reactive protein is high, it's going to show that there is a problem and higher risk of heart disease. So you got to know how to read the numbers. You can't just go, oh, my cholesterol is normal. I'm okay. Let me go eat hamburgers. Not necessarily. You got to measure that C-reactive protein and your homocysteine levels. But again, 3 weeks from now. So how do you calculate how much protein you need? I know somebody on social media, first question, bam, how much protein do you need? Here's your answer. It's really simple. Now, I can appreciate some of the advantages of the reigning protein consumption. Oh, yes, we need protein. So how do you know exactly how much you need? There's a simple rule if you want to follow it. It's a little complicated, actually. You likely need about a half gram of protein per pound of lean muscle mass. What the heck does that mean? You're talking about grams and pounds, and come on, Joe, make it easy for me. All right, I'm going to come to your rescue. For most people, it's about 40 to 70 grams of protein a day. Now, rarely does a person need more protein than that unless you're aggressively exercising, you're competing. Maybe if you're a pregnant woman, they should maybe have about 25% more. Your body only can use about 8 to 10% of its total caloric intake. Again, big numbers here. Take your calories, 8 to 10%. That's how many calories you need to be getting from concentrated protein. 40 to 70 grams, a general rule. It's within the range of the Centers for Disease Control protein recommendations for adults. So you're fine if you're between 40 and 70. Don't freak out about trying to figure out half a grams and pounds and everything like that. It's going to be too much to worry about. Substantial amounts of protein can be found where? Meat, fish, eggs, dairy products, legumes, nuts, seeds. Some vegetables have a lot of protein. How about broccoli? 40 grams of protein is not a large amount of food. Get this. This is the key here when it says how much protein do you need. It's the equivalent of just 2 small hamburger patties. That's 40 grams of protein. So if you have one big hamburger patty, that's probably going to be almost all the protein you need all day. A 6-ounce piece of chicken breast without the skin on it. 6 ounces is not a lot. So everybody's losing their mind that we need more protein. We need more protein. We don't need more protein. You're getting plenty. And let me ask you a question. Cows, lots of protein, right? They have skin, they have milk, they have bones, they have leather, they have meat. Where do they get their protein from? Plants. Cows don't eat other cows. In fact, it's illegal to serve an animal to another, well, a ruminant to another ruminant. You can't serve cows to cows. You can serve ground up pigs and chicken poop and stuff like that, but that's another story. That's another story for another meeting. But where do cows get their protein from? How do they build this massive muscle? And elephants and hippopotamuses? I don't know the plural is there. Where do they get their protein from? From plants. So plant protein is the most efficient source of protein that we have. If you look at smaller animals that eat meat, lions and tigers, yeah, they're strong, but they're much smaller, and they don't live nearly as long. The longest living animals on the planet, generally speaking, are plant eaters. The shorter life expectancies are carnivores. So if you want to live longer, it's not a bad way to do it. So again, only 2 small hamburger patties a day is all you need. So it's not a lot. Seeds. Seeds and nuts contain about 4 to 8 grams of protein per quarter cup. So if you had a cup of nuts, 4 times 4, 16, 24. 24 grams of protein right there in just a cup of nuts. That's not a whole lot, really. Cooked beans, 7 to 8, about the same as nuts. Grains are about 5 to 7, so all around the same. Vegetables, 2 to 3. So you're getting plenty of protein as long as you're getting a good variety of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Folks, got to go to break. If you have any questions, lines are open. 844-44-Dr. Joe. 844-44-DRJOE. That's the lines right now that are open. That number, when I'm not on the air, rings through to my offices. So if you have any health questions, you want to make an appointment to come see us, you want information about the supplements, you can always call 844-44-Dr. Joe during regular business hours. Our website, drjoe.com. Lots of information there. I'm Dr. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here, talking today about protein. Big question. Everybody wants to know about protein. Where do you get your protein? How much protein do I need? Should I do a high-protein diet? Protein is wonderful. I can eat as much as I want. Bacon is harmless. Folks, so much I must teach you. If you have any healthcare questions, give us a call. Our lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. Very simple. I know you can figure that out. We should write down those numbers, whatever DRJOE is, and I can give those out. What happens to your body when you eat too much protein? We talked a little bit about the strain it puts on the kidneys, but it can also lead to weight gain long term, because a study released from Clinical Nutrition notes that high-protein diet can lead to excessive body weight, which is directly relates to increase in total risk of death, but not if protein is replaced with healthy carbohydrates, healthy fats, fruits and vegetables. So it's very simple to do. Just you don't need all that much protein. And if you do, just make sure it's a good high-quality protein, like plant-based. Weaken bones. According to the Journal of Nutrition, too much protein consumption can release a large amount of acid into the body fluids. And we've talked about this for many years. When you eat a lot of protein, or any of the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, when those foods get into the body, they're acidic. And so they have to be broken down. And so acid gets into the blood. The kidneys have to excrete this acid, and your skeleton assists by acting as a buffer because it helps give up calcium to neutralize the acid. So as a result, calcium loss occurs, and researchers went on to say that it can be mitigated by increasing your intake of alkaline-rich foods, which would be mostly fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. That's a very alkaline diet. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, very alkalizing to the system. People always ask me, what about alkaline water? Shouldn't I take alkaline water and that's all I need? No, that's treating the symptom, but it's not treating the cause. The cause is too much acid in your diet. So if you need to take alkaline water, that just means your body's too acidic. So stop making it so acidic, and you don't have to treat it. You're treating the cause by changing your diet and getting to more fruits and vegetables. Things like Super Greens, an essential source, very alkalizing to the system. It's important that all these studies are put together because the research shows that increased protein intake can lead to increase in urinary calcium. So if you're eating a lot of protein, you're urinating out the calcium because the calcium is neutralizing the acid in the blood, and that's where the problems come in. So when I see people with osteoporosis, very seldom is it a hormone problem. It's usually a protein or an acid problem. And when I take these people with osteoporosis, and we see it all day, every day in our offices, we have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. And patients come in, we do a nutritional workup. They'll bring some nutritional paperwork with them, and they'll say, Dr. Joe, or whichever my doctor, Dr. Amy, Dr. Sam, and Dr. Irwin, I've got to make sure, Dr. Kat, Dr. Ryan, make sure we cover everybody here. And they'll say, I've got this blood test or whatever it is. I had my medical doctor do a test, and I'm early osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is the early stages of osteoporosis, and I don't know what to do. So then we get them on a good diet. We get them on a lot of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, get them off the 7 deadly sins, get them off the acid, get them on Super Greens, an essential source. Adrenal support is another one that helps with this. And then 6 months later, they go back and get a test done. And almost inevitably, again, I can't think of it ever not happening, but I could never say never. They go back and the doctor says, my gosh, Mary or Bob, whatever, it's just amazing. Your bone density is increasing. What are you doing? And a lot of times they'll say, well, I'm following Dr. Joe's advice. And most doctors in the area, certainly around the country, know who we are. And they'll say, oh, if Dr. Joe says it, just do it. That's great. And no one ever argues. They never say, well, stop doing that because it's increasing your bone density. We don't want that. No, everybody says, this is amazing. Just keep doing it. So if you live a life like this, you don't have to worry about getting to that point. That's my point to you. So it does work if we get the body more alkaline. It can increase your risk of cancer. Too much protein can increase your risk of cancer. One study notes that high intake of red and processed meat is associated with an increased risk of colon cancer. Other studies report findings when consuming red meat, while conversely noting that when you eat red meat, but they noted that it doesn't seem to happen with fish and chicken without the skin. There was a slightly lower risk. It's not gone. It's just a little less bad. And people say that too. Is it better? Well, I don't want to say better. I just say it's not as bad. Because it's still not good. It's still not nearly as good as eating things like fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Increased risk of kidney stones, according to the American Family Physician. Low fluid intake along with excess protein, along with salt and oxalates, is critical factor in developing kidney stones. Because again, when you eat the acids, the body has to neutralize the acid. The body uses calcium as a neutralizing agent. These chunks of calcium and acid have to be filtered out through the body. They go through the kidneys. They can build up into kidneys, and that can lead to kidney stones. Here's the thing. I'm a realist. I get that you're probably not going to do everything I say. Shocking, I know. So let's lay down some rules for step one. Step one, if you're going to eat meat or any animal products, the quality is probably more important or as important as the quantity. So as a general rule, only meat I recommend would be organically raised meats. Now, if it's organically raised, if it says organic on it, they'll have grass-fed and pastured and farm-raised, whatever words they want to use. The only word that really makes a difference is organic. Because if it's organic, it's grass-fed, it's pastured. It means it's out in a pasture. It's not raised in a barn somewhere. And so the other words may not have everything involved, like even free-range chickens. Free-range chickens, they can be wing to wing in this big room, but they're not in a cage. So if they're not in a cage, they're considered free-range. And I think the rule is, it used to be anyway, that there had to be a door in the barn that could be open to allow the chickens to go outside. Now, they're chicken. They don't go outside. They don't want to go somewhere they don't know where they're going. I always picture this farmer, and I don't know if this is true. Farmer opens a door and says, want to go outside? No? Okay, good. And they close the door, and that's it. Now they're free range. So it doesn't mean they're not being fed steroids and hormones and chemicals and genetically modified foods and glyphosate and everything else. It just means they're not in a cage. So people say, I get the cage-free eggs. So you want to get organic is the word you're looking for if you're going to eat any type of animal products. They're raised in something called concentrated animal feeding operations, CAFOs. Now, CAFO, beef and poultry, is likely to be contaminated with herbicides, pesticides, hormones, antibiotics, and other drugs, as well as being fed genetically modified grains. Now, that's not something a cow would normally eat. If I had a cow and I put it out in the field, it wouldn't go eat soybeans. It wouldn't go eat corn. But when they're in a barn or in a cage, that's all they're fed. Well, that's what they're going to eat. And the problem with that is those foods are very high in omega-6 fatty acids. This is one of the many problems. Omega-6 fatty acids cause inflammation. Now, as a chiropractor, my job, my team of doctors' job, is to reduce inflammation in our patients and get the pain and swelling under control. Every disease known to man has inflammation. And a lot of that inflammation is coming because you are feeding that inflammation. You're putting foods in your body that cause inflammation. I want you to stop that. So if my team of doctors give you the best adjustment you can ever imagine, let's assume that happens, and you have pinched nerves and we give you chiropractic treatment, you put the bones back in place, and the neck pain, the back pain, the shoulder pain, the headaches, the sciatica all starts to go away, I also want you to eat a good diet to help bring down the inflammation so you get better results. My job is get you well and keep you well. If you want to play along, it makes my job a lot easier. Folks, got to go to a break. If you have any healthcare questions, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Our website, over 1,000 hours of podcast, drjoe.com. Lots of good information there. Video and audio podcast. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We live stream our shows. You get to see my pretty face. But the website's a plethora of information. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, you can do that at drjoe.com. Lines are open right now, 844-44-DR-JOE. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. So glad you're with us. We're talking today about protein. So many people have questions about protein. And bottom line is that most of us get way too much protein. Most of us get 3 to 5 times the amount of protein than we need. And that protein causes a lot of problems. It can put stress on the kidneys, the liver. It can dehydrate you. It can suck calcium and other minerals out of the body. It can stimulate something called the mTOR pathway, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So there's a lot of reasons not to do the protein. And we're going to talk about then if you're putting different types of protein in your body, like dairy proteins, casein, gluten. So what's happening is if you put that in your body, what's going to happen is the body develops antibodies to those proteins. And, well, I'll give you a little tease for this. Let's assume you eat gluten. Gluten goes into the body, and the body produces antibodies. These are little things that attack the protein and try to get it out of the system because it's a foreign protein. Well, those antibodies in some people are not so specific, and so it may say your cerebellum, part of your brain, looks like the weak gluten, and so now the body starts attacking the cerebellum or attacks the lining of the colon or attacks the whatever, the organ. And so even if you stop putting the protein in, the body is still producing these antibodies and attacking itself. And so now you have to have regulator T cells, they're called, and the regulator T cells need to be increased to stop the body from attacking itself. And so this is where a lot of people may have a gluten sensitivity, let's say, or dairy sensitivity, give it up, but they still have other health problems. And that's why in our offices we do nutrition on all the patients, because we want to make sure we get the chemistry right in the body. Because even if we're giving you the best chiropractic care in the world, if the nutrition isn't right, you may not be getting the results that you want. And we want to get you well and keep you well as quickly as possible for the least amount of money as possible. So if we do everything we say, I always joke with my patients, I say, listen, I want to own you for the next 60 days. I want you to do everything I say for the next 60 days. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, which I am, then you need to stick with what we're saying. And most people, when they do it and they actually make the commitment, they go, oh my gosh, you were absolutely right. Dr. Joe, this is amazing. Why didn't I do this sooner? So that's another danger of the body attacking foreign proteins. All right, let's talk about some other sources of protein, because everybody says, where do I get my protein from? Again, you're getting plenty of it from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. If you have a good variety, you're going to get more than enough protein. But let's go some key factors here. Maximizing your nutrition and achieving the right balance of macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, is really the goal here. And then getting the micronutrients, which you can get from things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If you're not taking those, that's the minimum supplements you should be taking every day. If you're not willing to do anything else I'm talking about ever in all of, I don't know, thousands of podcasts I've done, if you're not willing to do anything else, at least do the Super Greens and the Essential Source. They're 2 powders. I mix it with coconut milk or almond milk and drink it. If sometimes it's a little sweeter, sometimes a little not as sweet. If it's not as sweet for this batch, throw in some frozen fruit, whip it up, throw in some stevia, get the Super Greens, the Essential Source in your system. That's the key. And that's the minimum. There's a lot of other supplements too. Like I said, digestive enzymes, they're on the website. I take them every time I eat a cooked meal. But the goal is to get the macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And the other ones you can get from things like Super Greens and Essential Source and getting a good diet. But things like hemp seeds, about 33% protein, 11 grams per 3 tablespoons, all 20 amino acids. So hemp seeds are great. Now, hemp is making this big comeback because of what? Hemp oil and CBD. CBD is a cannabinoid, and it's a chemical that's found in marijuana. It's also found in hemp. And THC is the highest concentration in marijuana. And then the next one is CBD. Now, instead of getting CBD from marijuana, we can get a high concentration from hemp without any of the hallucinogenic responses that you get from the THC from pot. So hemp and pot are different. They're not the same plant. They're in the same family, but a different plant. We've put together a Cbd Cannabinoid Oil, and it's on the website, drjoe.com, and it's called Dr. Joe's Hemp Oil. We don't call it CBD oil because it has CBD and about 90 other cannabinoids in there. Cannabinoids are chemicals that help your body regulate and go back to normal. And we did a show a couple of weeks ago on CBD. If you go to the website, drjoe.com, just type in CBD in the search bar, you should be able to find it. So there's a lot of good information on CBD, and that's why it's a newest product, Dr. Joe's Hemp Oil, which is the CBD oil with other things there as well. But hemp seeds are loaded with protein. Chia seeds. I had a hummus today. I bought it at a store. And it was made with almonds, so it wasn't made with chickpeas. It was made with almonds and tahini and chia seeds, and it was really good. It had real nice flavor to it. Spirulina, 70% protein by weight, 6 grams of protein for 10-ounce servings. It contains 18 of the 20 amino acids in it, and spirulina is just amazing. Now, if you have an allergic reaction to iodine or seafood, you might want to test it to see if it works for you. Just take a little bit and see how you do. But that's one of the main ingredients in Dr. Joe's Super Greens. Spirulina is an amazing source of protein, and it alkalizes your system. And if we can get people taking spirulina is such an easily renewable source because it grows like crazy. And it's in the oceans. But we can that's what whales eat. That's how do whales get that big? They're eating things like spirulina. And so chlorella and the other microorganisms. So spirulina is a great source of protein, and that's why I put it in Dr. Joe's Super Greens. So people say, do you have a protein shake? Well, yeah, sort of. We have rice protein with spirulina in the Super Greens. That's more protein you're going to need in a day, so you're good. Not the only thing you're going to need, but sprouts are great, of course. If you want to grow your own sprouts, you can just take some seeds and grow your own. You can buy them, but sprouts are amazing. Bee pollen, that's another thing that's kind of coming back soon, coming up now. A lot of people are talking about it, so there's a lot of potential there, too. So when we come back, we're going to do I'm not done yet, but we'll come back and do a segment called Head to Toe with Dr. Joe. And we're going to talk about the sympathetic chain ganglion. And Garrett always says to me and Lewis, they say, what are you going to talk about in Head to Toe with Dr. Joe? And I said, today we're going to talk about the sympathetic chain ganglion. And what did you say when I said that? You said, huh? Exactly. That was his response. Huh? So, like we had Scooby-Doo here.
I thought that was my favorite band in 1991.
The sympathetic
chain
ganglions.
Chain ganglion.
They had that number one hit, didn't they? Yeah, the one-hit wonders. Yeah,
great punk band. Yeah.
Yeah. So, now we're going to talk about the sympathetic chain ganglion and why it's so important to your health. Right before we go to break, I want to cover this. Finally, something is going to happen. I'm happy with it. Long-awaited military report. Chiropractic services could be coming to members of military families, including military insurance coverage. Now, right now, it's not covered. However, the studies have been out, and they're showing that chiropractic care is helping get people back to work. They perform better. It saves so much money in treatment. So I'm really happy. It probably won't be till about for another year or two, but chiropractic care hopefully is going to now be covered by military insurance. It's going to save them so many hundreds of billions of dollars, I'm guessing, that they're going to say, like you do, why didn't I do this sooner? So just so you know, that even the government's saying, yes, chiropractic care is the treatment for back pain by far, most effective, least expensive. If you have any healthcare questions, 844-44-Dr. Joe. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We'll be right back. Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Today we're talking about protein, and most people are getting way too much protein and the adverse effects that happen when you eat too much protein. And when we're going to talk about some of the side effects that occur when you eat too much protein, but first we have to do this.
Talking head to toe with Dr. Joe.
Yes, it is that time of the show again, folks. Time for the Head to Toe with Dr. Joe. And if you were listening earlier, Garrett always comes to me right before we start the show or somewhere in the middle of the show. Sometimes he sneaks it in on me. And he says, what are we going to talk about today when it comes to Head to Toe with Dr. Joe? And I said, the sympathetic chain ganglion. And Garrett said,
what?
There you go. See, yes. And Ahmad, you know anything about the sympathetic chain ganglion?
No.
No, never even heard those words in a sentence, right?
That's a tongue twister.
And Lewis, nothing. You got nothing for me, huh? You got nothing.
Oh, I'm telling you, that was my favorite punk rock band back in the early '90s.
Ahmad, you have their CD. I
Little
think.
known fact. Yeah, I actually do.
You got a CD. Yeah,
Maybe even the A-track.
The chain ganglion. So back on the chain ganglion. Play that as bumper music later. Anyway, what is the sympathetic chain ganglion? Well, there's two types of nerves in your body. One is called the sympathetic, and sympathetic nerves speed you up. And parasympathetic nerves slow you down. So sympathetic nerves, like right now, I'm in sympathetic mode. I'm thinking fast. I'm talking fast. You're listening. You're probably going to be in a sympathetic mode doing that. Going to work. Stress is sympathetic. Parasympathetic is when your body slows down. Sleep, going to the bathroom, romance. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. But the sympathetic chain ganglion, and there's parasympathetic ganglion as well, but they're right near the organ. Now, what a ganglion is a nerve. It's kind of a way station for a nerve. A nerve can go into it and kind of jump to another nerve and then go out on the other side. So it kind of speeds up the process and also gives nerves kind of come together in a group, and then they can kind of decide what direction they're going to go in, and then they'll go in different areas. So it's a way station for nerves. And the chain ganglion kind of runs up and down your spine. And its nerves go into that area, and then they go into their little switching station, and then they go back out to wherever they're going to go. And so the sympathetic chain ganglion are the areas where the sympathetic nerves react. Now, sympathetic nerves do what? They speed you up. So one of the problems we find is that in our society, we can get stuck in the sympathetic mode. So you're always stressed out. How many people are like that? Raise your hands. You're stressed out. You're drinking coffee. You're crashing right after lunch. You have to have another cup of coffee. You wake up. You're starving for sugar. You're eating a bad diet. You can't wait to go home at night. You're home at night. You can't sleep. You're restless.
You work for Dr. Joe.
You work for Dr. Joe. Very sympathetic situation to work for. And so you're right. You know, sometimes at work it gets a little nuts. But Garrett's great. Garrett's got a little massage room up in his office, right? What else you got up there? You got the sauna.
I have Tina. That's all I need.
That's right. Tina's the most calming person in the world. Tina's Garrett's co-worker up there. And she's the one, by the way, when you order things like Super Greens and Essential Source, her and Garrett are the ones that make sure it gets shipped out and make sure your order's right. And if there's anything wrong, Tina's the one who handles it. And Tina's amazing. She's just this she's so peaceful. So anyway, she is not the sympathetic issue in the group upstairs where Garrett works. But the sympathetic nerve speeds you up. And so if we're constantly being sped up, we put a lot of stress on something called your adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands produce something called adrenaline, or epinephrine is released. It's called in the brain. It's called epinephrine and norepinephrine. But basically, it speeds you up. And so over time, if you keep pumping out this adrenaline or the norepinephrine, eventually what's going to happen is the organs get fatigued and they burn out. And so you may have heard the term adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout. And that's when your adrenal glands just can't keep the pace anymore. And you're struggling, and that's why you're sucking down coffee and you're doing stimulants just to try to struggle through the day. And that's a sign that your sympathetic nervous system is just being beaten. And so we need to calm the sympathetic nervous system down, take the stress off the sympathetic nerves. One of the things you can do is feed the adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands, you can do one of two things. We can give you something like coffee to artificially stimulate you, or we can give you the raw materials that you need for the adrenal gland to start to heal. And on the website, drjoe.com, we have something called Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support. And in the adrenal support, we have herbs called adaptogens. Here's a new word for you. Lewis, a new word for you, adaptogen. Okay, you like that one?
Adaptogen.
Adaptogen, yes. Okay, good. Okay, we're going to quiz you on it later. Make sure you understand it.
Okay, just working on the pronunciation
Yeah,
for now.
that's enough for you today. Adaptogens are nerves that are herbs that adapt to what you need. And it's really cool because if you need one thing, it'll do one thing. If you need another thing, it'll do another thing. And so things like ashwagandha, which is a real big buzzword right now, adrenal support, it's in the Dr. Joe's Adrenal Support, is so vital to get the adrenals working again, to help bring you out of that sympathetic mode and let you go down into the parasympathetic mode. And you'll see commercials now for when it comes to romance. Men need all these little blue pills, and all these men have these problems. Well, if you're stuck in a sympathetic mode, you can't shift to parasympathetic mode, and so then you can't function for men and women. You can't function on many levels, including romantically. So getting the body to shift to the parasympathetic mode is so important. And you got to shift between the two, sympathetic and parasympathetic, back and forth constantly. Most people aren't doing that, and then they can't go to the bathroom. They'll have constipation. They'll have urinary tract infections because they can't urinate properly, because those are all parasympathetic functions, and you're stuck in the sympathetic mode. So the sympathetic chain ganglia affect the sympathetic nerves, and they go down the middle of the spine. And this is why chiropractic care works so well, because when we can adjust, we can sometimes take the mechanical pressure off the sympathetic chain ganglion and essentially unpinch them. When we unpinch the sympathetic chain ganglion, the nervous system is able to work. That's the basis of chiropractic care. Get the nervous system working properly. Unpinch the nerves, open up the blood supply, get the diet right, get the digestion right, and now you have a health care plan. Most of you have a health insurance, but you don't have a health care plan. And chiropractic, and what we do in our offices, is truly the ultimate, what I would consider the ultimate health care plan. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge in the Atlanta area. You can call 844-44-Dr. Joe during regular business hours and make an appointment. We work with almost all insurance companies, car accidents, sports injuries. If the car was damaged, you were damaged. Any car accident you've ever been in, you need to come see us right away. No one is stronger than their own car, I promise you. Folks, lines are open. We have 3 more segments of the show. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. Our website, over 1,000 hours of podcast, order supplements, a lot of questions you can send through the website, drjoe.com. We'll be right back. Dr. Joe here. We learned that Garrett believes that pineapples grow in trees. Is that what I just heard you say?
For the longest time, I thought that pineapples grew in trees.
Okay, but they don't.
No.
They grow in a
but
grass.
imagine a pineapple tree.
I can imagine a pineapple tree. I've seen an eggplant. Ah!
Such a dad.
I know. That's a high-protein joke for the day, an eggplant. So. And also, Lewis is amazed at cashews. What were you saying about cashews?
It looks like they grow in like a Dr. Seuss fruit.
Doesn't it? I know.
I've never seen it before. I saw it for the first time. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
It looks like a Smurf.
It does look like a Smurf, like an upside-down red Smurf, right? Yeah. But the reason something you've never even thought about, you've never seen cashews in a shell. And the reason is that you can't eat them out of a shell. You can't crack it open and eat it. They have an oil on it that's toxic, so you have to heat the cashews. Ahmad's even learning something new today. You have to roast the cashew. So even if they say raw cashews, they have been heated to take this toxic oil off the cashew, and you'll never see one in a shell. So there's your.
So you can't just eat cashews in the wild.
You can't hunt them down and capture them and eat them. That's correct. So there you go. We're going to show you a picture. We're going to show Ahmad a picture. That weird looking thing, isn't it, Ahmad?
That is crazy.
Very weird looking. So
I've never seen that.
Look up cashews growing or something, and that's it. So anyway, I was in the Amazon basin one time. I did this eco-tourism thing and wouldn't recommend it. A lot of mosquitoes, and mosquitoes love me. And but yeah, I saw them growing there. It was kind of cool. So anyway, if you have any healthcare questions about we're doing a show here today, aren't we? Yeah. The number here at the studio, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Caller did not want to go on the air. Want to ask your opinion of high-protein diets. That's what we're talking about for the past hour and 20 minutes. I'm not a big fan of high-protein diets because of how dangerous they are. So, you're familiar with the high-protein diets, the Atkins diet, the Zone diet. They were popular in the 90s. Diets like the caveman diet, the paleo diet. They kind of vary with the terms of their macronutrients.
Weren't you supposed to have a debate with that guy, the Atkins guy?
Atkins, yes. I was scheduled to debate him, as a matter of fact, and he died. So I guess I won. So, yes, we're going to discuss it. And I was going to go into exactly what we're talking about today. And this was many years ago. Obviously, he was still alive. But I was going to go into the dangers of the high-protein diets. And since then, a lot more research has come out on how dangerous these high-protein things are. They're not something that is sustainable long-term from a health standpoint. You might be able to do it, but they're not good for you. The standard ketogenic diet emphasizes fat, but it can also be high in protein. Now, you can do a high-protein plant-based diet if you wanted to. So if you have to go on this high-protein diet, whatever is in your mind that you have to do this high-protein diet, you can do it plant-based. Just go on, search the web, say high-protein plant-based diets, and you can do it, and the plant protein is not going to damage the body the way the animal protein does. That's the nice part. So if you have to do it, that's the direction you want to go. Now, again, protein is essential. You need it. It helps build and repair muscles, organs, and bones, but high-protein diets have been shown to be helpful in reducing fat, losing weight, increasing, making you feel full, and feeling of happiness because you're full from the food, but the long-term associated risks are very, very high. Now, we kind of touched on this before, that if you're going to put a protein in your body that's a foreign protein, like, let's say, gluten. Now, the problem with gluten is if you take gluten and you spray it with something called glyphosate, which is a very common practice in America now because we spray the wheat with glyphosate to kill it, it's easier to harvest. It takes a lot of stress off the machines. Now, the glyphosate can get into the wheat and it gets into your body. When glyphosate gets into the wheat, it binds to the protein. And it makes this gooey, glumpy, trying to make it simple, protein that's really, really hard for the body to break down. You just don't have the enzymes to break down this gluten protein. Gluten is made up of gliadin and glutenin, which are two different proteins. And so what happens is your immune system says, I don't know what that is. That's a foreign protein. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to bring it into the lymph nodes, and then we're going to decide what to do with it. And then the lymph nodes say, what do we do with it? And it usually tries to get it out of the system because we can't break it down. But now the immune system recognizes gluten as a foreign protein. So whenever it sees gluten, and this is how vaccines work, this is how your immune system works, it recognizes a foreign protein, a virus, germ, bacteria, and it attacks it. So whenever it sees it in the future, it learns that this is a bad thing, and it gets better and better at fighting it off. The problem is that these proteins look like parts of your body. Let's assume it looks like the cerebellum in your brain. Let's assume it looks like the lining of your colon. So now you stop eating gluten. You know what, Dr. Joe, I realized you were right. I need to give up dairy, which has casein, which is a foreign protein, and gluten. So I've given up wheat. I've given up dairy. Oh, my God, I feel so good. You are brilliant. This is the greatest thing I've ever done next to getting chiropractic care at your offices. And so Now the body says, okay, well, I still recognize this foreign protein in your cerebellum or your colon, whatever, and the body still is producing these antibodies to attack your own body. And now we start having autoimmune reactions. Now, if the autoimmune reaction gets out of control, you can have an autoimmune disease, things like lupus, where the body's attacking itself. And so what we have to do then is calm down the immune system. And there's something called regulator T cells that come in, that can come in and actually regulate that. But you get that happening when your body is healthy. If you're eating the standard American diet, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, if you're eating the standard American diet, the immune system never gets a chance to reboot itself. So the immune system essentially has to reboot. Again, I'm keeping it really simple for you here. It's a lot more complicated than this. So this is why you may have given up a problem food, an antigen, but you're still tired all the time. You're still having back pain. You're still having headaches. And even without patients, we can give them the best chiropractic care in the world, and I believe we do give some of the best in the world. I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe it is. But if you have the body attacking itself, then we need to add the nutritional component to try to calm the body down. And if you want to do the lazy man way, you can start with Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. It's the minimum supplements you should be taking every day. It's probably not going to solve all your problems, but you're going to say, oh my gosh, I do feel a lot better. I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. My love life is improving. Okay, Super Greens and Essential Source is the greatest thing that ever happened, and people tell me that all day, every day. I was at seminars with doctors this weekend, with doctors everywhere from all over the country coming up to me. Dr. Joe, your Super Greens and Essential Source are off the chart. Oh, my God. I tell my patients to take them. I take them. It's amazing. So they're on the website, drjoe.com. Take a scoop of each, shake it up with some coconut milk or almond milk, and just drink it down. Make it in a smoothie if you want to. But that's going to help, but we may have to go a little deeper than that. If we have to go a little deeper, then we may need to do some more nutritional work. But every one of our patients that comes in, we do a nutritional workup on them. Now, some people like a little, I don't feel like filling out the form, blah, blah, blah. You really need to, because we really need to get the body healthy again. And so that's where you really want to consider adding nutrition to your chiropractic treatment, along with getting your digestive system working too. And if you are eating something that's cooked or a protein like that may not be the easiest one to digest, always take Dr. Joe's digestive enzymes. I think anybody over 40 should be taking it every time you have a meal. That's my opinion. So we're talking today about protein. If you have any healthcare questions, you have 2 more segments. The number is 844-44-Dr. I now hear music, which means I can't get into the side effects of eating too much protein, which I'm going to try to do in the next segment. If you have any questions, 844-44-Dr. Our website, drjoe.com. Over 1,000 hours of podcasts on the website. You can order supplements there. Send us questions through the website. We have a blog. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. If you're happy with what you're hearing, give us a nice review, because we want to get you well and keep you well. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here, talking today about protein. And most of you are getting way too much protein, 3 to 5 times the amount of protein that you need. And everybody's worried about protein. Stop it. If you're eating enough variety of good foods and you're maintaining your weight and your energy level, you've got more than enough protein in your diet. That's a good general rule. 40 to 70 grams a day is where you should be with protein. 2 small hamburger patties is 40 grams of protein. A 6-ounce chicken breast without the skin on it is 40 grams of protein. So as long as you're eating enough food to maintain your weight and you're eating a good variety of food, chances are you're getting more than enough protein. The problem you may have is you're not digesting the protein. And then you might have gas and bloating. Now, there could be several things. Your stomach can actually push up against your diaphragm. And if the stomach pushes up against the diaphragm, and my doctors, I've trained them all how to actually adjust or pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. Because your esophagus is where you swallow food, and there's a little hole in your diaphragm called lower esophageal sphincter or the cardiac sphincter, and it's not very strong. So if you eat a lot of food, it can rupture right up, push up through that sphincter. It's not a real strong sphincter, and so then you have the acid reflux, and sometimes if you stretch that out, we need to massage or pull the stomach away from the diaphragm and get that sphincter to close again. And so eating smaller meals might help, but certainly taking things like Dr. Joe's digestive enzymes could be very helpful as well. I take it every time I have a cooked meal. I couldn't imagine not doing that because it helps with digestion so much. And you feel so much better. And the bloating, the gas, the brain fog, a lot of that just goes away when you take the digestive enzymes. And if you do have the body reacting like we were talking about, having an autoimmune condition, many times the enzymes will help break down the proteins more effectively to help calm down the immune system. All right, we're going to start taking some callers. 844-44-Dr. Joe. And we have 2 more segments if you have any questions. 844-44-DRJOE. Is it Shalene?
It's Shaylin.
Shaylin, hey, how can we make your day better?
Well, I was just going to ask a question. It could be hypothetical or realistic there, but I know you wouldn't want to do this forever, but hypothetically, what would happen if you only drink just nutritional shakes every day and no eating, just nutritional shakes?
That's actually a very good question, and I think it's a brilliant question, actually. Several things happen. Number one is you're not going to get any fiber unless the fiber's in there, and you need fiber to push food through your colon. So chances are you might start getting some constipation, or if it irritates the colon, it could cause diarrhea. You got to make sure you're getting enough calories if you're doing that too. Like people say, can I live on Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source? And I would say no, not for a long period of time because you need calories. The body needs calories to burn for fuel. And also the quality of the shake. You know, if you're going to have hydrolyzed vegetable protein in there, if you're going to have whey or casein, I wouldn't do that. That's why if you're going to do shakes, I'd recommend Super Greens and Essential Source, which of course everybody should be taking anyway. I would start there, and if you want to throw in some frozen food, berries or something like that, that would work. But in theory, you can do it for a short period of time, but I wouldn't recommend it long-term because you're not getting everything you need. That is awesome answer. Thank you so much. Thanks. Appreciate the call. And, folks, if you have any questions, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Going to talk about side effects of too much protein now. Because I'm vegan. In case you don't know that, I'm vegan. I don't eat any animal products. Haven't for about 33 years. And people always say, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your protein? And again, you don't need more protein. You're getting plenty of protein. I'm fine with my protein levels. Now, high protein levels may tout things like weight loss, but over time, it can actually lead to weight gain. 2016 study found that weight gain was significantly associated with diets where protein replaced things like carbohydrates and not the fats. So you need to get the fat in there too, but make sure it's good fats. One of the problems in our society is we're eating way too much bad fat and not nearly enough good fat. Now, good fats would be from whole foods, things like whole avocado, nuts, seeds. Here's the thing with nut butters, or nuts or nut butters. I can't eat too many. If I eat too much fat, I gain weight. And I tried going plant-based keto just to see what it was like. I did terrible with it. I didn't feel well. I put on weight. And so it wasn't for me. So not every diet, is good for everybody. But you got to make sure that if you start putting on weight, you're just eating too much protein, it can be converted into sugar. One of the big problems I find with people that eat it is bad breath. What happens is the proteins go into your stomach, and the stomach has pepsin and pepsinogen, which help break the proteins into amino acids. It essentially helps unravel them. Proteins are like a ball of yarn. And the pepsin and pepsinogen break down the proteins, unraveled it, and then it goes into the small intestine where the pancreas kicks in, and the pancreas releases some more protease to help break it down even further into something called amino acids. Amino acids are just building blocks of the proteins. And so if you eat too much protein, you're putting too much stress on your pepsin and pepsinogen in your pancreas. You're not able to break it down. You don't have enough enzyme capabilities in most cases. So it passes into the small intestine where it putrefies. And when it putrefies, it stinks, and that gas then exchanges with the colon into the blood system. It gets into your lungs, exchanges again, and you have that rotten potty breath. And you've met people, I'm sure. I meet people almost every day. Their breath just smells like a toilet. And so a couple of things we have to do with that. Number one, we may have to adjust their stomach, actually pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. Very, very common. We see about 85% of our patients have this. Then we got to adjust the spine and open up the nerve supply, including the sympathetic chain ganglion. If you missed that, it was head to toe with Dr. Joe today. And get the nervous system working properly. And then we got to get them on a good diet. And things like Super Greens and Essential Source have chlorophyll, which can help neutralize some of the bad breath, which is great. One of the many, many reasons you should be doing Super Greens and Essential Source. But if you have somebody with potty breath, that's a symptom. It's just like pain. It's just like bleeding. Something's wrong, and you got to fix it. And covering it up with mints and things like that isn't great, but it works well if you fix the cause. Little thing I do is I always carry cloves. All my suit jackets have it. My car has it. My office has it. And with cloves, I break off the little bud. A clove's like the thing you put in ham. That's what those cloves are. And I suck on cloves on a regular basis. Now, it's antibiotic, antiviral, and antifungal, so it kills bacteria in the mouth. It also gives you a nice fresh breath. And then as the clove dissolves, you can chew it and swallow it. It has more antioxidants than blueberries. And what I'll do is I'll take the clove and stick it up between my cheek and gum. And then if I'm talking to somebody close, I'll pull it back down, suck on it a little bit, pull it back up again. And this way I know I'm always going to have fresh breath. But if you do have that potty breath, chances are you're not breaking down your proteins properly, and it could be an adjustment and or digestive enzymes and or don't eat so much protein. Sometimes you get constipation if people are on a high-protein diet and not eating enough fiber. That's a problem. Some people get diarrhea from it. It can irritate the colon, and it can cause the colon not to hold the food properly, so that can be an issue as well. All right, lots of callers. I'm going to go back to the callers. If you have a question, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Bart, how can we make your day better?
Well, my fiance is 5'7" and weighs 99 pounds.
Wow.
She's basically skin and bones.
Sure.
Do you have anything in your repertoire of the
sure.
products that you have that would increase her appetite?
Sure. What usually happens, it's a ghrelin issue. Ghrelin is a hormone that's produced in the small intestine. It goes up in the hypothalamus and makes you feel hungry. And so if she's not producing the right amount of ghrelin, that could be the problem. So first thing I would do is check to see if her stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm, because that can affect the whole digestive tract. And leptin is produced in the stomach, ghrelin is produced in the small intestine. It may be a hormone issue that we have to physically fix. Second thing is I'd get her on Super Greens and Essential Source because that'll help the digestive system kind of jumpstart itself. And if it still continues, it wouldn't hurt to get a body scan done on her just to make sure there's nothing weird going on in her body. I mean, if she's not eating, that's one thing. If she's eating and losing weight, then of course I start thinking cancer, but that doesn't sound like her.
Well, no, she simply has no appetite. I mean, she'll go all day and not eat
anything.
A pretzel.
Yeah, okay. If you want to bring her in to come see us, that might be something I'm going to have to look at a little further. I may have to check the digestive system and nervous system and see what we can do. But at least Super Greens and Essential Source, that'll get her nutrients, hopefully start stimulating ghrelin production.
Okay.
Thanks, Bart. I appreciate it.
All right.
If you do want to make an appointment, folks, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge in the Atlanta area. Go to our website, drjoe.com. But better yet, call us during business hours. 844-44-DR-JOE. If you call now, you can get your question on the air. Call during business hours. It rings through our offices, and my staff can explain the steps you take to become a patient. It's real easy, and we want to get you well and keep you well. The website, again, if you want to order supplements, podcast, drjoe.com. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Can you believe it's the last segment of the show? Holy cow. Now, if you're just tuning in, you missed an amazing show. But fear not, because I know Garrett, and Garrett promises me that this is going to be on the website tomorrow. So if you're just tuning in, you want to get the whole show. We're talking about protein and the dangers of protein, actually. Too much protein, how dangerous it can be, and that's what most of you are doing. And again, if you're plant-based, if you're a vegan, people, where do you get your protein from? It's all going to be covered here in the show, so you can catch it on the website, drjoe.com. We have audio and video, so you can watch my pretty face. The video, too, right? The video's going to be there. You can see my pretty face if you want to. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We live stream a lot of our shows, and we do have a live event coming up in 2 weeks, I think it is. But here's the thing. If you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you send us your email address, you would have known about that. And then you can put your name in a lottery, because we have a lottery. We can't handle nearly as many people as we'd like to. I think we can only handle 100 people. So if you put your name in a lottery, Justin from the radio station, he'll give you a call if you win. If you didn't win, folks, we're going to try to do this every quarter. My bosses love the live lounges so much. It's called. They love them so much. We're moving it from radio, which is downstairs here at the studio, to upstairs, Channel 2. There's a huge monster studio up there. And we can handle a lot more people up there. So make sure you send us your email address, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Otherwise, you're not going to be one of the cool kids. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And you get to come to the live event, which is really a blast, by the way. The radio show is fun. Live shows are even more fun. So we're talking about the dangers of eating too much protein. Dehydration, because the body flushes out excess nitrogen with fluids and water. Now, it can leave you dehydrated even though you may not feel thirsty. A little small study done in 2002 found that athletes found as protein intake increased, hydration levels decreased. So that's an issue you might want to be careful with. Risk or effective can be minimized by increasing your water intake. So if you're on a high-protein diet, you shouldn't be. But if you are, make sure you drink enough water. And the big thing here is kidney damage. Now, I've been in practice a long time. And when I first got in practice, I hardly ever saw kidney patients. And now I see 2 or 3 kidney patients a week. I'm a chiropractor. What are kidney patients coming to us for? Doctors say you're in stage 3, stage 4 kidney failure. There's nothing we can do about it. Sucks to be you. And so they come in and we talk about adjusting the mid-back, because the lower mid-back, that's the nerve supply to the kidneys and the adrenal glands. We talked about them earlier. And then we got to take the stress off the kidneys. And the studies have been done, we talked about this earlier, in case you're just tuning in, that if you're eating animal proteins, it can cause kidney damage. If you're eating plant proteins, it didn't show any damage at all. The effects of a low-carbohydrate, high-protein diet was done. The study found on healthy obese adults, which I thought was funny. How do you find a healthy obese adult? A low-carb, high-protein diet over 2 years could cause some problems. And other studies show it didn't cause problems. But here's the thing. Why take that chance? Why do something that you know even has the potential of being dangerous when you couldn't be doing things that don't have the potential? Now, chiropractic care, is there a risk? Yes, but the risk is infinitesimally small. It's so tiny risk of getting hurt at a chiropractor's office. So get the nervous system working. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, if you've ever been in a car accident, ever, if the car was damaged, you were damaged. What I'm trying to get here is as soon as you have a problem, come see us. Don't wait. The longer you wait, the harder it is to fix somebody. Study after study has shown the quicker you get chiropractic treatment, the quicker the results, the less expensive it is, and the better long-term results you have. Now, that being said, if you've had a problem for 10 or 20 or 30 years, get to see us right away. Don't wait. When you wait, that's when the damage occurs. And if you're eating a bad diet, we do want to get the diet straightened out. Because the diet is what makes the body heal. The chemicals that you put in your body is how the body's going to heal. So that's why I recommend the minimum supplements would be Super Greens and Essential Source. If you're eating a cooked meal, Dr. Joe's Digestive Enzymes. Almost all of you, and I can probably say safely all of you, are going to be vitamin D deficient. The cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy is Dr. Joe's Vitamin D. It also has vitamin K2 in it, which helps with heart, helps with bone growth. 5 drops a day. That's all you need is 5 drops of Dr. Joe's Vitamin D a day. So that would be good. And we make it with lanolin. It's the only supplement that isn't vegan. It's made from lanolin, but it's still an amazing supplement. If that's not your big concern, I'd recommend the vitamin D3, not vitamin D2, by the way. Vitamin D2 is synthetic. It's the prescription form. Again, I'm not telling you to take drugs or not take drugs. I just know that the D3 is more effective than the D2. So you might want to consider that as well. And all the supplements are there. The digestive enzymes, the B complex. Most of us are deficient in B vitamins. I take adrenal support every day. Somebody on social media said, what's the best source for omega-3 fatty acids? We need omega-3s. They're called essential fatty acids. Essential meaning you have to get them from an outside source. Essential amino acids, you have to get them from an outside source. The essential fatty acids, you have to get them from an outside source. The best source we have is Dr. Joe's vegan omega-3s. Comes from algae oil. Algae is the purest form of omega-3s. I take them every day. I take double the dose, by the way. It says 1 a day. I take 2 a day because I want to make sure I'm getting enough omega-3s for my brain function, for inflammation, keeps you young. It's good for your skin. Most of you are going to be deficient in omega-3s. So most people are deficient in magnesium, omega-3s, and vitamin D. Those are the 3 supplements almost everyone is deficient in, and you get the magnesium from the Super Greens and Essential Source, you get the vitamin D separate, and then you get the omega-3 separate. So there's no reason not to take the supplements. It's unbelievably inexpensive, and the results are just like off the chart in most cases. So, all right, more things that happen. By the way, all those are on the website, drjoe.com. If you come by our offices and pick them up, you don't have to pay for shipping. Save you a couple of bucks. I'm more than happy to do that. And beginning of the year, we have an updated version coming out of the Super Greens, the Essential Source as well. We're going to improve on it. Can you imagine that? We're going to make it better. Just amazing. All right, high-protein diets, again, increases your risk of cancer. We mentioned something called the mTOR pathway. mTOR pathway is stimulated, upregulated, we call it, by eating too much protein. And if you're taking in too much protein, the mTOR pathway is stimulated, and that can cause abnormal cell growth. Same thing with insulin. If you're eating way too much sugar, that can cause something called insulin-like growth factor and insulin to be increased, and that can cause abnormal cell growth as well. So cutting back on the simple carbohydrates, cutting back on the protein to the point where you need it can really help a lot with cancer patients. And I wish this was being taught everywhere, but it is taught on the Dr. Joe Show, which, by the way, we have over 1,000 hours of podcasts on the website, drjoe.com. And if you want to make an appointment, folks, stop suffering. Go to the website, or better call us at 844-44-DR-JOE during business hours. We'll get you set up as soon as possible. I do recommend the minimum supplements you take. Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're on the website, drjoe.com. Send us your email address. We'll put you on our list so that we can get you informed as to what's going on in the Dr. Joe world. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time.